it's hard to keep track. Like, I can't explain how the intensity increases between training and the competition. Because I was laughing at people thinking, because everyone was telling me, oh, you'll be exhausted after 5 minutes. Honestly, you'll be smashed after 5 minutes. It's like, yeah, right. You know, I don't want to be arrogant, but I did a marathon a few months back. Like, I know what endurance is. Like 5 minutes, I can churn out a high intensity for 5 minutes. I was smashed after 2 minutes, I swear to God. Because you already start with an elevated heart rate, the adrenaline's pumping, and I suppose getting more experience in these competitions, what I'll improve at is how to actually manage that to get to an optimal level, because the adrenaline can really help you. Guess who's back? Back again. Hydra's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back, and guess who's back, and guess who's back, and guess who's back, and guess who's back, guess who's back, guess who's back. Alrighty, what are we talking about today then, Salvatore?
We are talking about something very special, James. Today we'll talk about a special experience of a special man who experienced something special recently. And that man is you, and the special thing is your first BJJ tournament, which is not something dirty.
Be careful with those letters, Sal.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and your first professional involvement in it. How was that? Tell us more about, first of all, what it is.
So BJJ, not to be confused, and BJJ is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. As we all know, we've talked about this before, and you do practice it yourself there, Sal. And it is a kind of martial art related to judo. It came from judo, but it's mostly on the floor. So it starts on the feet, but the idea is either to win points against your opponent for different positions. For example, if you take the back, it's 4 points. If you do a projection, a throw, proiezione, a throw is 2 points, etc. So you can win by points, or you can win by submission. So you get your opponent into a submission hold. It could be a choke, it could be an armbar, for example, and then the opponent taps because you're going to break something or pass out. So
and just to clarify, this would be in a sport competitive environment, because you could also use Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as self-defense in the streets.
Oh, sure.
But now we're talking just about the sport aspect of it.
Yeah. So I did my first competition on the 19th of December. But I was actually, so it was something that I was really, really excited about for a month or two, because I had my last long, my last race in the running season on the 21st of November in Verona. I did a half marathon there. And then I had this sort of window, and I saw that there was a competition in Rome on the 19th, a jiu-jitsu competition. I thought, wow, what a great opportunity. Like, it's just down the road. You know, I've been training consistently for a few months now, and I'm feeling good, and I'd like to test myself in a different environment, because there's one thing's training and learning and improving, you know, with people you already know, and another thing is testing yourself in a competition environment against people that you've never met before. But actually, a couple of weeks before it was to take place, I was umming and ahhing about signing up. Still, I got cold feet a little bit, I must admit. And it was interesting, because it was all about, I was scared of making a fool of myself. I was worried about, I was telling myself that maybe I wasn't ready. And then I had this conversation with one of my students, Emanuele. He's only 17, and he said something which I remember for a long time. I think he said, I think you should, whenever you're trying to make a decision, think what's the risk and what's the consequence. Because if it's high risk and low consequence, maybe you want to think twice. But this jiu-jitsu competition for me was low risk and high consequence. I didn't have anything to lose. And the consequence is great, because you get a new experience. You'll learn a lot, even if you lose in 10 seconds. And so, I decided to sign up after that. So I have to thank Emanuele and a few other people. I think the problem for me was that my identity is too tied up with results. And so I was worried about what the result would be. Whereas in reality, people that care about you, whether you win, lose or draw.
So somebody who never saw a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament, how is it actually structured? Maybe we can start with the layout of the competition itself, just to give a frame of reference.
You sign up based on your belt, your weight, and your age group.
Okay,
so my age group is 30 to 35. I know I look younger, but I'm 30 to 35. My weight was 73 with no gi, although I was 71 or 72. So I didn't have to cut weight, because some people actually cut weight for a couple of weeks. And then
I hope you had your gi on for the fight.
Well, because I signed up to the gi competition. With the gi, if people don't know, it's the big kind of judo jacket and trousers. I signed up for the gi and the no gi because it was only €10 extra. So I don't actually train no gi, but in for a penny, in for a pound. So you sign up and then you see how many people are in your category. There was only one other guy in my category. So when you go there in the morning, just before you enter to do the fight, you have to weigh yourself, and they have to make sure that you're the weight that you signed up for. If you're not, then you're just. So a few people were just like a few grams overweight, maybe half a kilo overweight, and they went out for a run and sort of tried to sweat it off. It was, but I didn't have any problem. I thought, you can have a couple of mine. I've got a couple of kilos. It's fair. And then it just depends how many people turn up in your category. And then if there's 4 of you, you do semi-final and then final. For me, it was straight to the final. So I only had 2 fights. Each fight is 5 minutes max. Of course, if there's a submission, then it stops there.
How do you win? Yeah. How do you win if not a submission? Is it judges and?
Yeah. So there's a referee there, and whenever you're in a position that wins points, the referee will lift his hand and show the number of points that you've got. And then there's somebody behind a computer screen next to the mat that you're fighting on that puts the points on the board. So you can also see how many points you're up or down if you haven't kept count of the referee's arms. But I had a problem with my contact lenses that day, so I actually couldn't see a bloody thing. So I didn't know if I'd won. I didn't know if I'd won the first one. I'd actually won 15-2, but I couldn't see the bloody board, so I had no idea. That's how aware I was during those 5 minutes.
I was about to ask, did you have any point of reference of how things are going, or is it during the fight just a succession of moves and energies and whatever and chaos, and you don't really have any grasp, or do you still feel like things are going your way?
Well, there's so much adrenaline that it's hard to keep track. Like, I can't explain how the intensity increases between training and the competition. Because I was laughing at people thinking, because everyone was telling me, oh, you'll be exhausted after 5 minutes. Honestly, you'll be smashed after 5 minutes. It's like, yeah, right. I don't want to be arrogant, but I did a marathon a few months back. Like, I know what endurance is. Like 5 minutes, I can churn out a high intensity for 5 minutes. I was smashed after 2 minutes, I swear to God. Because you already start with an elevated heart rate, the adrenaline's pumping, and I suppose getting more experience in these competitions, what I'll improve at is how to actually manage that to get to an optimal level, because the adrenaline can really help you. It can also screw you up, and it can also, to go back to your question, Sal, it can stop you from knowing where you are. You just remember certain moments. But it's hard to keep track, because it's not like you're looking at the referee as he's raising his arms. It's hard to keep track, and if you don't have any contact lenses in, then it's almost impossible. In the second, so the first fight was no gi, and I knew it was going pretty well because I got a few takedowns. But especially in the final minute, I knew it was going well because I got a takedown and then a side control and then knee on belly, and I could, and then a mount, and then I was calculating that. It's like, that's 8 points there. It's like, I don't think he's done 8 points. Like, I can't remember. It was very competitive throughout, though. It was a really, really good back and forth. But the second one, it was the same guy, because the only one in my category, and it was with the gi. And I actually had time with 1 minute left, because both of our belts fell off and we both stopped. I know now that you shouldn't stop, even if your belt falls off. We both stopped to redress. And I actually walked up to the screen close enough to see that I was losing 3-2, because it wasn't going so well. That one, he did a really good job with controlling me on the ground. And I thought, oh crap, so 3-2. So I knew with 1 minute to go that I had to do something. And now it's interesting to use different tools actually that we've talked about before, like breathing, because I was pretty exhausted at that point, and I did some physiological size. You know, the deep inhale and then an extra inhale. I did a couple of those just to try and slow my heart rate down, and I use those in training as well between rounds to try and get a grip when I'm really huffing. And it worked because I could actually think clearly, and then I got a decent throw in and could hold him down, and I just about won that one. I think it was 6-3 in the end. So I got a few points there. But yeah, it's not like you're keeping track. I suppose the more experience you get, the better you get at it, then that's when you start to be more strategic, you know, and to know exactly what's going on and to plan accordingly, I suppose.
There's no way you're, because this energy zapping, I suppose, thinking about the wrong things, isn't it? You need to be thinking about the right things, and I suppose that's what you get better at, isn't it? Doesn't matter what the more present you are, the better, I guess, in something like that when someone's coming at you. And it's interesting you say about compared to the marathon, it's just a different. For one, it's we know, don't we? If it was a 5-minute race, that's kind of tougher than a marathon as well. But also, someone is dictating your pace. It's not up, as much as you push yourself when you run. It's a different game when someone else is dictating the pace. It's you've got eyes on different things, haven't you?
Yeah,
you're not switching off at all.
That's it. Yeah, you can't. The marathon is quite a closed skill in a lot of ways, isn't it? Because you are in control. There are some outside factors, like there always are, but it's really you against you, 90%. Whereas when, like you say, Dan, when somebody's coming at you and causing you problems, this is the great thing about jiu-jitsu, isn't it? It's like you're trying to cause somebody else problems, and you're trying to solve the problem that's in front of you, and the problem is continually changing. So you have to adapt. What the problem that you're trying to throw at somebody has to adapt to the problem that they're trying to give you, and you have to solve that problem while you give them other problems, and that is continual. That makes sense. So it's such it's a cognitive sport as well as a physical sport. And it really has to be a conversation. And watching the video back, I realized that if we take the analogy of a conversation, I was talking too much and not listening enough, right? So in practical terms, I was looking for what we call a double leg, which is to go down, take both my opponent's legs like a rugby tackle and pull him down. And it was so obvious from the first second that that's what I was looking for, because I love those things. And when that's so obvious, it means that it's less likely to happen, because the opponent knows what you're looking for and then stops it from happening, right? You're a one-trick pony. What you want to do is to attack with like 3 things at once, and if 1 doesn't happen, then 2 doesn't happen, then 3 will happen. And it has to be like you're overloading the opponent cognitively, because you're attacking them from different angles almost simultaneously. And you have to be more fluid, instead of just looking for one thing. Like I say, it has to be a conversation. You have to not just talk, but also listen and then respond with what's in front of you.
Speaking of listening, I noticed in the video replay that there were some indications from the sideline from your trainer.
Yeah.
Were you able to listen at all, or to actually understand any of the instructions at all? Because I can imagine with the adrenaline and the surrounding noise, and then also other fights happening at the same time, that you really get confused. So were you able to channel kind of the voice and actually?
No, I need to get better at that. I need to get better at that as well, because watching the video, of course, somebody was filming it right next to our coach, Luis Senatore, and I heard some things, like when the guy got me in a headlock in the no-gi, they shouted 3 or 4 times, stand up, stand up, stand up, and only on maybe the 4th did I hear it, and then I stood up, because I remember in that position thinking, oh, I'm finished. When am I going to tap? And then I heard, oh yeah, okay. And then that really helped. So, but it's really hard because your ears are in close with somebody's arm or somebody's body. So my hearing is not, my strongest skill anyway. But when you've got so much blockage there, and like you say, other fights happening, other people shouting, other people cheering. But that's something that I need to improve also. Because it's like tuning into a radio station. You have to tune into that radio station and listen really hard, because they're giving you excellent advice. But also, I talked to the guy that I was fighting after, and he said actually it really helped me as well, because they were shouting stuff. It took you a little longer to process it, and I knew what they were trying to get you to do, so I could defend against it. So it goes both ways. Maybe we should look at another language like it. Luis and I both speak Spanish. Maybe we should do it in Spanish next time.
Right.
But I do that. They do the codes, don't they? In a lot of, I see it in the sports films. Delilah, run Delilah. Do you remember Coach Carter? Delilah, he knows him after his sister. So the other team doesn't know what he's talking about. That's what they do.
Yeah. We'll have to do that. We'll have to do that. But no, it was really cool, and I'm so happy that I did it, because, and it was completely irrelevant that I won both times. It was actually more about.
You didn't take any losses, no.
No, I only fought twice, and I won both. Both on points. But no, I was just happy to put myself out of my comfort zone, because I was completely out of my comfort zone. And I was thinking back. I think it's been so long since I've been completely out of my comfort zone in something which is new. Like, for a first time in my life kind of event. Because of course, we've done marathons, and every marathon's different. And I don't know, like, I was thinking about other things that I've done for work, like presentations. I still get nervous and things, but I've got some experience to work with already. Whereas that was completely from scratch, as it were. I think it's so liberating when you let go of the result. You let go of the importance of the result, and you realize that turning up is already a victory. Everything else is a bonus. And the only way you can lose is if you don't have the balls to turn up. That's the conclusion that I came to. And then what are you really scared of? It's like, you lose, so what? The week before, I went to see another competition there, just to scout it out. And I saw some people lose in 10, 15 seconds, which was my biggest fear. And guess what happened? Nothing. Nobody gave a damn. They tapped, they shook hands, and they went on with the rest of their lives. Who cares? And then there was this little girl who really inspired me, actually. She was awesome. So first fight, she was like this tiny little blonde girl, her belt was touching the floor. She was so small. She must have been 6, 7, 8 years old, I think. And she was awesome. The first one she won, she was moving, she had really great technique. The second one, she was up against a girl who was a little bit older, I think had a lot more experience. And this girl was just putting points. And she never gave up, though. She never gave up. She kept moving. She kept defending. But every time she defended, there was another attack that was more points. But she didn't get submitted. And in the end, she lost 25-0. And I was really worried, because I thought she was going to be destroyed when she stood up. I thought she's going to stand up. She's going to see the score, and she's just going to burst into tears. Obviously, I was projecting, what I think that I would have done in that situation. And she stood up. She was waving. She was happy. She was waving at her dad, waving at her coach. She congratulated the other girl, genuinely. And then she trotted off and went on with the rest of her day. And I thought, wow, if a young girl can have that carefree attitude, then maybe I can as well. Because at the end of the day, you've got nothing to lose. So it's fun. I'm going to do another one.
Very nice. Well, it sounds like it was a great experience for you. Is there anything that you would do different next time?
I mean, there are so many positions that I need to work on. There are so many things that I need to learn. But that's going to be the case for the next 15 or 20 years. What am I talking about? It's going to be the case for the next 40 or 50 years if I keep doing jiu-jitsu. Like, there's always new things to learn. What would I actually do differently for the day? I found the second fight really difficult because I think my adrenaline was so high for the first one, and then it was like a crash afterwards. Mm-hmm. So I need to look at that, maybe just completely withdrawing from the arena, even like having a little nap, like trying to completely recharge somewhere else and then coming back a little fresher because I stayed there all day. My first fight was at 9:30 in the morning. The second one was about 2 p.m. And so I was really physically and mentally drained by the time the second one came around. So I think I'd have to look at how I sort of relax and then come back between competitions, between fights in the competition. I mean, there's so many technical things. Like I controlled this. Like I went through it with Luis. I went through the videos with Luis, and we took notes. Like 1 minute 37. Don't let the guy stand up. Okay, there's some technical things that I did which I can do better. I have a page on the first fight and a page on the second fight, so I keep going through those. I'd continue the same attitude that I had, actually, even though now I have 2 victories. I still want to go there with a beginner's mindset, which is really I went there thinking if I last more than 30 seconds, I'll be happy. Because then your expectations are low and whatever happens is a bonus, which is how it should be, right? Especially when I'm in this stage of my competition experience. I remember thinking after 30 seconds in the first fight, oh man, I'm still here.
What do you think? I mean, I know you're not almost not taking it as a win, or not taking it as a win, but you don't want to acknowledge a win too much. But would you say, because it's interesting, the guy who said he could hear your coaches calling out moves and getting ahead of you in that way. I mean, it sounds like he must be more experienced, or do you think it was maybe how comes you managed to outpace him, would you say, in your estimation? Is it did your fitness come into it, or?
I think it's very hard to know exactly, but so the fact that he was hearing my coaches and can understand them and probably was processing their instructions a bit quicker than me because he's Italian and I'm not. I think that had something to do with it. Because even a couple of seconds,
he's Italian,
maybe just a second or two that I might take, because I mean that high stress element, just that second or two that I need to process, which I wouldn't usually need. That's a second or two that he didn't.
Thing he always says is high pressure problem solving with dire consequences. That's what you're doing.
Dire physical consequences. It's high pressure problem solving with physical consequences. It is. It's like human chess. Human chess.
Sorry, man. I didn't mean to mock.
No. So there's that. I think
seconds counted. That just even though you're fluent in Italian, it's still not your. It takes you that millisecond more maybe to digest.
But even me, you're right, to digest it. Like if somebody say, "Well, grab the belt." That this is not. I could understand grab the belt, but it was like, when your heart rate is that high and your prefrontal cortex starts shutting down and you find it really hard to make decisions. Oh, grab the belt on the wrong side or the right side. Like it was just random, I wasn't thinking, oh, of course, if I'm on this side of him, I want to grab the belt that way because all of his weight's on that side. It was just like, here's something and then do it without even considering. But I think what Luis has always said about physicality being so important was really important. In the final minute of both the fights, I put on the points. So they're 5-minute fights. In the final minute of both of them, I felt that I was still in pretty good shape, and I got plenty of points in the first, and then the points that I needed in the second in the final minute. But I mean, we were very evenly matched. I really enjoyed it, and we had a good chat after, and we exchanged numbers, and we were sort of sending each other the videos and stuff. And no, he's a really great guy. So I think that's another part of the competition that you don't necessarily sign up for. You don't sign up to these competitions to make friends, but it's another great side effect that you meet people on that day. You share these ideas with them. You have this exchange, which is also a lot about trust, because you can do somebody a lot of harm in such a sport. And they're not friends of yours. They're not even from your gym. So there's no reason to be respectful and, to be careful. But, well, I can't speak for everyone there, but most people were, and definitely we were to each other. Like, it was a good, fair battle. And I think we both really enjoyed it. And, I'd count him as a friend now, If I was down in Puglia, where he's from, then I'll give him a ring, and hopefully we'll train together and see each other again at another competition.
Sounds amazing, man. Sounds amazing, brother. I've enjoyed hearing about it, and my mind's been going through the learning process, and I don't know the way you describe it, all about the our favourite book, Bounce, where they talk about how those the mind chunks things together, and where you are with it is not quite in the, obviously you haven't done your 10,000 hours yet, so you wouldn't be, but it's interesting. You seem along that process. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
The way you're explaining it makes me, I'm going through those motions in my head, the way you're explaining it is.
Yeah, it's still, I suppose.
I think you always say as well, jiu-jitsu is perfect demonstration of that mindset. It's the gelling with the other and learning and all at the same time. It's
you came, you saw,
it's like when you're learning a language and you learn odd words, right? I'm still learning to put sentences together, let alone a whole paragraph. And then if you get really good, you can put together a whole discourse, and it's a beautiful thing. When it's fluent, when it flows, it's beautiful. But yeah, I'm still spluttering around a few words, ordering a coffee. But
coffee, man.
It's the climb. Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus told us.
If we were gonna, I'm not sure if it's time to close out, but if we're gonna, we should do Teddy Roosevelt, because that what you're saying about how you were scared, and what were you scared of, really? It's not the critic who counts, is it?
No. It's the man who's in the arena, whose face is marred with dust and sweat and blood, who knows great enthusiasm and errs, and if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so his place will never be among those odd and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. You've never lived until you've almost died. For those who've had to fight for it, life has a flavour the protected shall never know.
Oh, God.
All right.
That's all I have to say about that. Cheers, guys. Thanks for letting me splurge. I enjoyed.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Now, on to the next one.
Yes, sir.
Like Jay-Z said.
Hydra. Regular.
All right, we'll be back.